opposition parties are gathering this morning for the two-day Moonshot Pact convention, and the mission is to create an alliance, to unseat the ANC next year's elections. Well, at least 7 parties, we understand, including the DA, the IFP, the FF Plus and Action SA have all confirmed their attendance, but the gathering is being held at Empress Palace in Kempton Park, and this is the exact same site of the historic CODESA talks that ushered in the democracy in the early 90s. Well, eNCA's Pule Letshwiti-Jones is in Kempton Park and joins us live now to take us through how those plenary sessions are going. But Pule, good morning to you. Earlier on, we saw the chairperson, the independent chairperson of this coalition convention, Prof. William Gumede, speaking about how it's important, for these engagements to occur in good faith. And we know that with other political parties, they've seemed to have shown their commitment in moving forward with those engagements and talks. But how's it looking so far in as far as plenary sessions are also concerned?
Well, definitely, Dumelo. As far as we understand right now, these are the pre-negotiations to try and outline the terms and conditions of this multi-party national convention, which of course will be going into the national elections in 2024 as a pact. The parties have made it quite clear that they have to set aside their political differences in order to win the confidence and, of course, persuade most of the South Africans to vote in their direction in an aim to try and unseat the ANC. But just previously, during the Gauteng DA Congress, you would have heard that the federal leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen, made it quite clear that this was not an anti-ANC project focus only, but it will also focus on winning voters' confidence, particularly South Africans as well. As far as we also understand here, is that there's been quite a lot of concern around the DA talks that has been taking place with the ANC, the speculation that has been held within the public gallery. Action SA has been quite vocal about it, saying that they would have wanted the DA to reaffirm their stance and position in this multi-party convention. So those are some of the things that will be discussed during the plenary session. And of course, from this multi-party pact, 4 of these parties will be entering into national general elections for the first time as well. So it will be a situation whereby these parties outline how they will be working together, and of course how the pledge that they've drafted will be adhered to, of course, which will be to hold these parties accountable if there are any challenges. But what else has been outlined by the independent chairperson of the talks, Mr. William Gumede, was that the pact may have to come up with a new name to accommodate all the parties as well. We understand that the Moonshot Pact, of course, was spearheaded by the DA earlier this year in a mission to try and, of course, unseat the ANC. But we have been told that we'll be given updates from the independent chairperson as the day proceeds as to what, of course, has been discussed in that plenary session. Amongst the issues that have been spoken about are challenges facing South Africans, such as the high crime rate, load shedding, unemployment, amongst other issues as well. But let's just take a listen to what the DA had to say when asked about the speculation of them working with the ANC if things don't go their way.
There's no discussions with the ANC, nor have there been discussions with the ANC about a grand coalition. The only negotiations that the Democratic Alliance has been involved in are the ones that have revolved around forming a multi-party pact. If I wanted a grand coalition with the ANC, I'd be at Luthuli House today. Instead, I'm at Emperor's Palace with 7 other parties, planning about how we can unseat the ANC and put in power an alternative. That is our commitment to the people of South Africa. It's not healthy in a democracy to have a party that's in power for 30 years. There needs to be a change in power. I think it'll do the ANC some good to spend some time in the opposition benches. And my focus from now until the next election is getting this multi-party pact over the line with a majority so that we can usher in a new era of hope and prosperity for the country.
And I suppose that's what some may call, what informs the trust deficit, Pule, between Action SA and the DA. The fact that there might be a possibility looming of the DA going into that grand coalition with the ANC. We're listening to John Steenhuisen now saying that he would have been at Luthuli House if that were the case. But we can't deny the friction that this might have caused, or at least some doubt between Action SA and not only the DA, but perhaps, I suppose, the legitimacy of this pact.
Well, I mean, if you take it back to the National Executive Committee of the ANC meeting that took place in Boksburg, and the committee spearheaded by the Minister of Kokta, Thembi Nkadimeng, she did allude to the fact that, of course, there were a bit of planning and talks around a possible coalition between themselves and the Democratic Alliance. But further as well, we saw the talks that have been taking place during the national dialogue that was held, where also it was chaired by the Deputy President of South Africa, Paul Mashatile, as well. So there's been a lot of movement around the talks that have been taking place between the DA and the ANC, and this is one move Action SA says it will not condone. In fact, they've said they're willing to walk away if they see the DA eventually now speaking to the ANC, because they have been consistent in their stance to say they will not be working with the ANC, and of course that's Action SA. But also one issue they've raised is the issue of whether the multi-party national convention has the number to even contest against the numbers to contest against the ANC and the EFF. You would have remembered that the United Democratic Movement under the leadership of Bantu Holomisa and of course ACDP under the leadership of Kenneth Moshe did not participate, so we're saying that they will not be participating in the Moonshot Pact now. But we've seen new players coming into this national convention, such as eNCA, which is of course a breakaway from the South African National Civic Organization, an ally of the ANC, and United Independent Movements representing independent candidates there as well. So apart from ACDP and UDM not being part of the multi-party national convention, the DA is still quite adamant that they have the numbers to do what it takes to take on and unseat the ANC as well. But the DA has also made it clear that the EFF will be enemy number one and they will not be working with the EFF as well. But let's just take a listen to the reaction from Action SA as to what they said when we asked them about the idea of the DA working with the ANC, and of course the trust deficit when going into those plenary talks to try and foster a way that would work for the multi-party national convention.
We are saying unequivocally to our partners today that we don't want an agreement framed on being anti-anything. We don't want a fear-mongering campaign in 2024. We think this group of parties must come together and offer a positive alternative vision for South Africa, grounded in solutions we share about how we address those greatest challenges in South Africa. That's what we want to see. But we also want to see an unequivocal answer when it comes to the ANC. We don't think it's good that we have political parties like the DA talking about possible coalition with the ANC while these talks are going on, because you can't run with the fox and hunt with the hounds. We must invest fully in this group of parties achieving a majority, and that can't happen if we have parties that have one leg in either idea.
All right, we'll leave it at that, colleague, and we'll have to, of course, track down those developments out in Kempton Park in terms of what really is, happening in those closed plenary sessions. I understand that Prof. Willem Gumede will be updating the media as soon as he has some feedback to just update us on how it's going. This leading up, of course, to the closure in the last day of the coalition convention. This is a multi-party gathering of opposition parties to unseat the ANC. I remember even Velinkosi Tlhabisa saying in his opening remarks to the media that this gathering is not about the hatred of the ANC. It's simply about the hatred of what the ANC has done to the country, and therefore they're trying to ensure that next year's elections are quite different and have a different outcome for them. So we'll update you there with my colleague Pule Letshwiti-Jones.